My name is Kelly Torres, and I'm 32 years old. If you'd asked me 3 months ago what happiness looked like, I'd have said Saturday mornings with Ethan pancakes and wedding spreadsheets. I thought I had everything under control. That night, control died one message at a time. It was a quiet Thursday. I was home alone, surrounded by half-filled mugs of coffee, finalizing vendor payments for the wedding that was just 5 weeks away. The house was soft with music, the kind of calm that made me feel safe. Then my phone buzzed. New group message. Bachelor Bros Weekend. Weird. I frowned. Ethan was away on his bachelor trip with his groomsmen in Vegas. Why was I added? Probably a mistake. I opened it. The first message came from one of his friends, bro. This suite is insane. You sure your girl's paying for this? Then another. Of course. He's got her card. She won't even notice. That woman tracks calories, not expenses. Laughter emojis filled the screen. I blinked, reread, and felt my stomach twist. Her card. They meant my card. My Amex. Then Ethan himself replied, "It's fine. I told her I'd handle the vendor payments this week. She won't check until after the wedding." A dozen little reactions popped up, fire emojis, laughing faces. I sat frozen, heartbeat thudding against my ribs. I reached for my wallet on the table, empty slot. My Amex was gone. My breath came short-clipped. I opened my banking app and felt my fingers tremble as the numbers refreshed. There they were, charges I didn't recognize. A luxury suite, high-end steakhouse, designer store, spa services, over $7,900 in the past 6 months. He'd been doing this for months. Then the chat went on, shifting from money to mockery. One friend. "So you ready to retire her after the honeymoon? Miss Spreadsheet's gonna lose it when you take her car away." Ethan, "I'll tell her it's impractical. We'll sell her Mazda, get something real, maybe a Tesla. She'll live." Another friend replied, "Gotta break her in early. First year of marriage sets the tone." Ethan's message came with a photo of me, one I'd taken during our engagement shoot, where I was looking away, smiling faintly. His caption made me go cold. "She looks calm, right? Wait till she finds out her craft room's becoming my home theater." I dropped the phone. The sound echoed in the kitchen. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the cruelty of how casually he'd said it, like my life was a project he'd already budgeted for. I picked up the phone again, forcing myself to scroll further. A message from Vanessa, his ex. She was still in the group, apparently invited as a joke. "Told you, Ethan. You can't marry someone like her unless you make her yours completely. My mom used to say, train them early." He replied, "Already working on it." A dry taste filled my mouth. My heart didn't race, it slowed. The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. I took screenshots. Dozens. Every line, every image, every timestamp. I saved them to cloud storage, 2 drives, and my email. If they thought I was the naive one, they were about to learn who they were dealing with. By midnight, I had every piece of proof I needed. The wedding spreadsheets were still open on my laptop, mocking me with their cheerful tabs: guest list, seating chart, flower budget. I closed them one by one. Then I took off my engagement ring. The gold glinted under the kitchen light, warm and meaningless now. I slid it into a drawer beside the bills and said quietly to no one, "Let's play Ethan." At 12:37 a.m., I called my lawyer and left a voicemail. "Hi, it's Kelly Torres. Emergency. I need a prenuptial agreement drafted by Monday morning. It needs to cover financial fraud, infidelity, and post-marriage control clauses. Call me as soon as you can." When I hung up, I didn't cry. Not once. Instead, I opened my email and started gathering every financial statement from the past year, highlighting every charge that wasn't mine. The further I went, the uglier it got. Trips, restaurants, even a watch, $2, $400. For the wedding, he'd said. At 2:00 a.m., I caught my reflection in the darkened kitchen window, tired, pale, calm. Not broken, just awake. Ethan's last text to me that night came in at 2:14 a.m. "Miss you, babe. Wish you were here. I'll make it up to you when I'm back." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed and went black. Then softly I smiled. "You already did." The next morning, sunlight streamed through my blinds like nothing had changed. The air smelled of coffee and betrayal. I dressed carefully, not for anyone, just for control. A white blouse, slate skirt, hair tied neatly. From the outside, I looked like the same Kelly Torres who planned everything to perfection. Inside, I was making room for chaos, but the kind I could steer. My lawyer, Rachel Cortez, called at 9:08 a.m. Her voice was brisk, sharp. the kind of tone that could slice through confusion. You said you needed a prenup immediately. That's not a typical Sunday request. I know, I replied evenly. This isn't a typical situation. She asked me to explain, and I did not with emotion, but precision. Each detail came out cleanly: the stolen card, the group chat, the conversations about training me after marriage. When I finished, the silence stretched for a long time. Finally, Rachel said, "We'll make this airtight. You'll need to stay calm when you present it. Make him believe it's business, not vengeance." I smiled faintly. Calm is all I have left. By Monday afternoon, I held a document that could end a marriage before it began. 28 pages. Clauses for infidelity, financial deceit, emotional manipulation, and debt isolation. If he cheated, lied, or used a single dollar of mine without consent, he'd walk away with nothing, not even his car. Rachel slid the folder toward me. He'll never sign this willingly. He doesn't have to, I said, my voice steady. He just has to choose between this and the police. Rachel leaned back, eyes narrowing. You've already decided, haven't you? I decided the moment he called me Miss Spreadsheet behind my back. That evening, Ethan came home earlier than expected. He smelled like hotel soap and expensive whiskey, the kind bought with someone else's credit. His smile was wide, practiced, movie perfect. Surprise came back a day early. I missed you. He wrapped his arms around me, and I let him motionless, feeling the falseness of it. How was it? I asked quietly. Amazing, he said. The guys went all out. But don't worry, we split everything evenly. Evenly, I repeated. That's good. He started rummaging through the pantry like he always did, humming. I leaned against the counter, watching the man I was about to dismantle. Hey, Ethan. Yeah. Where's my Amex card? He froze for less than a second, but I noticed. His hand tightened on a cereal box. What do you mean? It's missing from my wallet. Oh, right, he said too quickly. I borrowed it. Just in case of emergencies. Emergencies. I tilted my head. Did the spa count as one, or the watch? His face blanched. What? I canceled the card, I said flatly. Reported it stolen. His jaw dropped. You what, Sam? That's not funny. Neither is fraud. He stared at me, genuinely speechless, for the first time since I'd known him. Then he tried to recover, his voice softening. Okay, let's talk about this calmly. Monday morning, I interrupted. We'll talk then, with my lawyer present. He blinked, trying to find the version of me he could charm. Sam, baby, please, you're overreacting. I love you. I smiled politely. I know you do. I went upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and didn't answer when he knocked for over an hour. By the time the sun rose again, Ethan was pacing the living room, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man rehearsing excuses. When I came down with a file folder in my hand, he straightened up fast. What's that? He asked. A prenuptial agreement. He laughed, a short, nervous sound. You're joking. Read it. He flipped through the pages, his eyes widening with each clause. You put in a cheating clause. A fraud clause. Are you trying to scare me off? I'm trying to protect myself. This is insane, Sam. We're supposed to trust each other. You think I'd cheat on you? I met his eyes and said calmly, You already did, just not physically. His mouth opened, then shut. He didn't know what to say. I slid my phone across the table. The group chat glowed on the screen. Thursday night, you accidentally added me. The color drained from his face completely. Sam, that was a joke. The guys were drunk. For 7 months, I asked softly, because I scrolled back. He swallowed hard, silent. I reached into my bag and pulled out printed credit card statements. Each charge highlighted, color-coded, labeled. I have documentation of every unauthorized transaction. My credit card company has too. So here's what happens. You sign the prenup by Wednesday noon, or I call the police. This is blackmail, he whispered. No, I said, leaning closer, voice low and precise. This is consequences. He stared at me, searching for a trace of the old Kelly who would forgive, rationalize, or cry. She wasn't there anymore. After a long silence, he said, I need to talk to my mom. Be my guest. He pulled out his phone, called Margaret. Put it on speaker. Mom, she's making me sign some insane prenup. Put her on, Margaret's sharp voice barked. I'm here, I said evenly. How dare you after everything my son's done for you? You mean the thousands he stole from me? I asked. Silence. That's private, she snapped. That's evidence, I replied. He signs or I press charges. Your choice. You can't do this. Already doing it. Wednesday noon. I hung up. Ethan's hand was trembling when he put down the phone. You're ruining everything. I smiled slightly. No, Ethan. I'm saving myself. Then I turned, walked upstairs, and closed the door behind me. For the first time in 2 years, the silence in our house felt like peace. By Tuesday morning, the silence in our house had teeth. Ethan avoided me like a ghost. The man who once filled every room with his voice now moved, quietly calculating. I almost admired it, how someone could shift from arrogance to panic overnight. But I wasn't watching him. I was waiting for his family. The call came at noon. Margaret, his mother. Her number flashed across my screen like a warning. I answered. "Hello." Her voice came sharp and polished, dripping with disdain. "Kelly Torres, you've humiliated my son. What exactly do you think you're doing?" "Protecting myself," I said simply. "From what Ethan loves you. You're lucky he's marrying you." I closed my laptop slowly. "I'm sure you raised him to think love is ownership. That's your mistake, not mine." "You ungrateful," she hissed, but I hung up before she finished. An hour later, Ethan's father, Thomas, called instead. His tone was gentler, quieter, like someone trying to talk while holding a secret. "I just wanted to check on you," he said. "Margaret's upset." "I can imagine." He sighed. "Don't let her get to you. I saw the screenshots Ethan showed me. You're doing the right thing." That caught me off guard. You saw them. I did. And I'll tell you something, Kelly. My wife pulled the same thing on me 30 years ago. Manipulation dressed up as devotion. It's taken me decades to see it for what it was. His voice broke slightly. "Don't let it happen to you." There was a pause between us, heavy but honest. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Be smart," he told me. "Be strong." By Wednesday morning, the sky was heavy with rain. Ethan stood in the living room. Suit pressed, hair. Perfect expression cracked. His parents flanked him like bodyguards. My lawyer Rachel sat beside me at the conference table, calm and razor-sharp. Margaret began before we'd even started. "This prenup is predatory. Kelly is extorting our son." Rachel didn't flinch. "Mrs. Callahan, your son has admitted to using Ms. Torres's credit card without permission, and we have documented evidence of intent to deceive. This is not extortion, it's leniency." Margaret turned scarlet. "How dare you?" "Please," Thomas muttered under his breath, "not here." Ethan shifted uneasily in his chair. His hands were clasped tight, knuckles white. I watched him scan the pages again, reading the clauses that turned his manipulations into liabilities. "You're really doing this?" he asked me, voice shaking. "You already did," I said softly. "I'm just formalizing it." Margaret slammed her hand on the table. "You'll regret this, girl. You'll end up alone." I met her glare with calm precision. Better alone than owned. For the first time, even Ethan didn't defend her. Rachel tapped the pen in front of him. "You can sign now, or we proceed with criminal charges for credit card fraud." Ethan's voice cracked. "You wouldn't do that." Rachel smiled faintly. "Try me." The silence that followed felt eternal. Rain thudded against the windows like a clock counting down. Then slowly, Ethan reached for the pen. His hand shook so badly he could barely write his name. He signed the last page, exhaled, and leaned back defeated. Rachel gathered the papers neatly. "Thank you, Mr. Callahan. This is now legally binding." Margaret stood abruptly, face flushed. "This marriage won't last a year." I stood too, folding the papers with deliberate care. "You might be right." When they left, Rachel turned to me. "You handled that like a general." "I've spent years planning weddings," I said. "Planning a war isn't that different." She laughed once low. "Be careful, Kelly. Men like Ethan, they don't lose gracefully." "I know," I replied, staring at the rain-streaked window. "But I'm not the same woman he proposed to." That night, the house was silent again, but this time it wasn't peaceful. It felt suspended like the quiet between lightning and thunder. Ethan didn't come to bed. I didn't ask where he went. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamt of water flooding a ballroom, washing away flowers, vows, and promises until only silence remained. When I woke, I felt lighter, because somewhere deep down I knew the wedding wasn't going to happen. Not like this. The following week was a performance neither of us auditioned for. Ethan and I lived like polite strangers passing each other in the hallways, pretending not to hear the echo of our own anger. The wedding planner still sent updates, the florist confirmed deliveries, and the dress boutique left cheery voicemails about final fittings. I listened to every one of them, then deleted them all. He tried in his way to return to normal. Made coffee one morning, poured 2 mugs, said, "Let's start fresh." I took mine, sipped once, and said, "Fresh doesn't erase rotten." He didn't try again. The house that once buzzed with talk about centerpieces now carried the quiet dread of a courtroom waiting for its verdict. One evening, as rain softened against the windows, Ethan came into the living room. He looked smaller somehow, like the air had thinned around him. "Sam," he started, "can we just talk like before?" Before what I asked, not looking up from my laptop. "Before all this," he said, gesturing vaguely toward the space between us. A space filled with lies, stolen money, and a signature that ruined his illusion of control. He knelt in front of me, reaching for my hands, voice cracking. I love you. I made mistakes, but I can fix them. We can fix them. I looked at him for a long moment. Fixing something means admitting it's broken, Ethan. He flinched. You're really going to throw us away over a stupid mistake. 7 months of stupid mistakes, I corrected. You used me like a wallet and mocked me to your friends. You don't get to call that love. He looked desperate now, eyes glassy. You think that prenup protects you, but it doesn't rebuild trust. I know I messed up, but I'm still the man you agged Torres to marry. I closed my laptop, leaned forward, and said quietly, No, you're not. That man died the moment I saw what you really think of me. His face hardened, like he'd been slapped. So what now? You want to cancel everything? Yes. Sam, don't be dramatic. Dramatic. I laughed once, cold and low. You planned my life like a spreadsheet, Ethan. You were going to sell my car, make me quit my job, turn my craft room into your home theater. You wanted a compliant wife, not a partner. He stood up abruptly. You'll regret this. You're ruining your own future. Then I'll ruin it on my terms, I said. The next morning, I called the venue and canceled everything. The deposit's gone. The invitations shredded. The florist, sympathetic but firm. It cost me nearly $28,000 in lost payments, but the sound of confirmation emails felt like fifth tourism being printed out one receipt at a time. Ethan stormed into the kitchen when he found out. You canceled without talking to me. I did, I said. Everyone's flying in. My parents. They'll survive. He slammed his hand against the counter. You're humiliating me. I looked him straight in the eyes. You humiliated yourself. I just turned on the lights. He froze. For a second, his anger gave way to something worse, fear. Then he grabbed his keys and walked out the door, slamming so hard the frame shook. I waited until the echo faded. Then I exhaled. The calls came in waves, his mother screaming about disgrace and image, his groomsmen pretending concern while fishing for gossip. I ignored them all. Until one night, my phone lit up with an unknown number, a reporter. Ms. Torres. Do you have any comment about the group chat incident circulating online? What I asked, pulse spiking. Apparently, someone, maybe one of the groomsmen, had leaked the screenshots I'd sent to Rachel for evidence. The messages were spreading, shared across social media. Ethan mocking me, talking about training me, joking about my obedient personality. By morning, it was viral. Ethan came home mid-afternoon, pale and furious. You leaked it, he shouted. You destroyed my reputation. I stood by the window, calm as glass. I didn't need to. You did that when you pressed send. You're unbelievable, he hissed. You'll regret this. Probably, I said, but at least I'll regret it in peace. He stormed out again. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine, turned off my phone, and sat in the quiet. The house, for the first time, didn't feel haunted. It just felt mine. The wedding was gone, the man was crumbling, and the silence finally sounded like tourism. But deep down, I knew people like Ethan and his mother never accepted defeat. They called it revenge, and I could feel it coming. 3 weeks after I canceled the wedding, the storm truly began. First came the certified letter, thick envelope, gold-embossed header, Callahan and Berkson, attorneys at law. I didn't need to open it to know who was behind it. Margaret's rage had found its paperwork. Inside was a lawsuit, emotional distress, reputational damage, breach of promise. They wanted $25,000 for Ethan's humiliation, $10,000 for psychological trauma, and an apology letter for public slander. I laughed out loud. The sound startled even me. I forwarded the letter to Rachel with a single note. They really don't know who they're dealing with. She replied within minutes. Good. Then let's show them. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the hallway because the story had already leaked online. Bride cancels wedding. After discovering Fiancé's plan to control her family, files suit. Ethan arrived with Margaret and their lawyer, all sharp suits and self-righteous scowls. I walked in with Rachel calm in navy blue, carrying a single folder. The judge entered, and the air shifted. Their lawyer began with theatrics, Your Honor. My clients have suffered immense emotional damage at the hands of Ms. Torres. She maliciously leaked private messages, costing my client his career and reputation. Rachel rose smoothly. Your Honor, those same messages reveal evidence of fraud, emotional manipulation, and intent to deceive my client. Exhibit A. She placed a printed copy of the group chat on the judge's bench, every line highlighted, every timestamp intact. Ethan's words stared back from the page. You train them like dogs. Reward good behavior, punish bad. The courtroom went silent. Ethan's lawyer tried to recover. Those were jokes. Rachel cut him off. 7 months of identical jokes, with accompanying bank records showing $8,300 in unauthorized charges. We also have proof of coordinated deceit between Mr. Callahan and his mother. She slid another document across the table text messages between Ethan and Margaret. In one, Margaret had written, "Make her sign a joint account right after the honeymoon. Don't tell her about your debts until she's legally tied to you." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge's expression changed from neutral to disgusted. Margaret's voice cracked. That was private family discussion. "Correction," Rachel said. "That's evidence of premeditated financial abuse." Ethan leaned forward, whispering furiously to his lawyer. His composure was fracturing, sweat beading at his temple. Then Rachel dropped the final blow, an audio file. Ethan's voice laughing drunkenly to his friends. "Once she signs the papers, I'll finally be in control." The judge's pen froze mid-note. When the recording ended, you could have heard a pin drop. "Mr. Callahan," the judge said slowly, "is that your voice?" Ethan swallowed. "Yes, but—" No further explanation needed, the judge interrupted. "Ms. Torres, your evidence is compelling and credible. The plaintiff's claims are dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, based on the financial documentation, the court finds Mr. Callahan in violation of unauthorized use of funds totaling $8,300. The gavel hit wood. Judgment in favor of Ms. Torres for $15,500, including damages and legal fees." Margaret shot up furious. "You're destroying my son's future." The bailiff stepped forward, hand on her shoulder. "Ma'am, please sit down." She pointed at me, trembling. "You ruined him." I stood slowly. "No, I just stopped him." Outside the courthouse, flashes exploded from cameras. Reporters shouted questions. "Ms. Torres, do you feel vindicated? Did you leak the chat yourself? Is it true Mr. Callahan's job terminated him this morning?" I gave them the simplest answer I could. "I didn't destroy anyone. Truth did." Behind me, Margaret was screaming at the press. "She's a liar. My son's the victim." Ethan just stood there, hollow quiet, watching everything he built turn into dust. The group chat leaked in full later that week, and the internet did what it always does. It turned their cruelty into headlines. Groom plans to control fiancé after wedding gets exposed. The spreadsheet bride who outsmarted them all. The comments poured in. "She's a legend. This woman saved herself. His mom's the real villain." Ethan lost his job by Friday. Margaret was removed from her country club board for public misconduct. And me, I slept through the night for the first time in months. A week later, Thomas, Ethan's father, called. "I saw the hearing on the news," he said quietly. "You did what I never could. You stood up to her." "Are you okay?" I asked gently. He chuckled softly. "Better than I've been in years. Thank you for setting us free." I didn't know what to say. "You don't owe me thanks." "Maybe not," he said. "But sometimes one person burning a bridge gives everyone else a way out." I looked out the window, then the city lights flickering like quiet applause. For the first time, the fire didn't feel like destruction. It felt like cleansing. Still, a strange emptiness settled in my chest that night. Justice was satisfying, yes. But it didn't heal the part of me that had loved him, the part that believed we were building something real. Justice closes the case, but healing, that takes longer. And I wasn't there yet. 6 months later, my life had become unrecognizable. Not in the dramatic way people imagine, no grand rebirth, no wild reinvention. Just a quiet steadiness that felt like standing on solid ground after years of living on a tilted floor. The scandal had burned itself out. The tabloids moved on. The TikTok leaks faded beneath newer headlines. But for weeks, strangers still whispered, "That's her," when I walked into coffee shops. I didn't mind. Let them whisper. I knew the truth. Ethan's family, though, didn't vanish quietly. Margaret tried to violate the restraining order twice, once showing up outside my apartment building and once waiting in the parking lot of my gym. Each time, the police escorted her away. The judge extended the order another year and warned her of jail time. Ethan himself didn't contact me again, but I still received updates through the digital residue of our shared past. His company terminated him after the hearing. His friends abandoned him when the group chat went public. Eventually, he moved back home. The once charming, confident man who bragged about training me now lived under the rule of the very woman who trained him. The irony wasn't lost on me. I went back to work at my project firm after taking a short leave. My boss greeted me with a hug instead of a question. "You handled everything with grace," she said. "Not everyone could have done that." I smiled faintly. Grace just looks calm on the surface. It's rage organized. At night, I walked. Instead of sleeping long walks through my quiet neighborhood, the kind where streetlights hum and time feels suspended, I started sketching again, rediscovering pieces of myself I'd packed away to make room for wedding plans. Healing wasn't cinematic. It was repetitive. It was waking up working, breathing, sleeping, and doing it again. Then one evening, 3 months later, I met Daniel. He wasn't like Ethan, no polished charm, no rehearsed lines. We met at a friend's dinner party. He was a quiet corporate lawyer with a dry sense of humor and kind eyes that didn't search for weakness. He'd heard about the story everyone had, but he didn't bring it up. We talked about books, not betrayal, about travel, not trauma, about the present, not the past. By our third date, I told him everything anyway. The credit card theft, the group chat, the prenup, the courtroom. All of it. He listened without interrupting, his expression calm and thoughtful. When I finished, I said softly, "You probably think I'm impossible to date." He shook his head. "No, I think you're the most self-aware person I've ever met." I laughed. "You're a lawyer. You're supposed to say that." He smiled. "No, I'm a lawyer. I know a woman who writes airtight contracts when she's been wronged." 3 months later, he proposed not with a spectacle but with intention. It was a quiet dinner at home, candlelight flickering between us. He slid a ring across the table and said, "No secrets, no games, just two people who understand what peace feels like when it's earned." I didn't cry. I just nodded, heart steady. Yes. It wasn't the kind of proposal I'd once dreamed of. It was better. Real. I still keep the old prenup in a drawer. Not as a weapon, but as a relic proof that I once mistook control for love and had the courage to correct it. Sometimes, late at night, I reread the first line of that document. This agreement exists for the protection of both parties should trust ever fail. Trust had failed, but I hadn't. On what would have been my wedding day, I didn't cry or wonder what might have been. Instead, I packed a bag and took Daniel to the mountains. No photographers, no music, no witnesses, just the two of us and silence. He took my hand and said, "You know, you never told me what you did with the old engagement ring." I smiled faintly. "I sold it. Paid for my lawyer's retainer with it." He chuckled. "Smart investment." "Best I ever made," I said. When we got home, I framed one last thing, a single printed screenshot from that group chat. Not for spite, for remembrance. It hangs in my office now next to my degree. The line reads, "She won't even notice." Every morning I see it and whisper back, "I noticed." Because that's the truth of survival. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it documents.